London Film Festival's press conference for The Lady in the Van, the Mayor's Centrepiece Gala. It's a great pleasure to introduce the cast and the crew. First, producer Kevin Loader, director Nicholas Heitner, the Lady in the Van herself, Maggie Smith, writer Alan Bennett, and the other Alan Bennett, Alex Jennings. We'll be adding another tea, Alan, in post. One of the most striking things about this film is, of course, that it's a true story. But watching it again, one of the things that spoke to me most was the fact that it's filmed in the actual location in which it took place. Nick, how important was it to be there in Gloucester Crescent?
Well, it certainly has an element of authenticity to the film, and since we never considered doing it anywhere else, I'm not sure I can quite imagine or visualize what it would have been like. It was entertaining to see the look on all the residents' face, many of whom were there when all this happened, when the van drove down the Crescent again. I think they had mixed feelings about that. And it was also very entertaining to talk to them about Miss Shepherd and about Alan. You could have made a kind of Rashomon movie about the various different versions they had of her, although on the essentials they were all in agreement.
And authenticity is, Alex, presumably that's important for you to be in the real location.
Yeah, hugely. I mean, it was amazing to be sitting at his desk in his window with the van back in the driveway. Immense help with your imagination.
Alan, a question not really as a writer, but more as a householder. What was it like to have a film crew coming back into that house, which I believe you still own?
Well, I don't live there. If I'd lived there, it would have been a nightmare. But I've never had a film crew in any place I've lived, because, with the best will in the world, they always cause chaos. But I didn't live there. Anthony Croller, the photographer, lives there. It's different from when I lived there anyway, so I didn't have any sort of pangs about it, and I was very glad. If we hadn't had the house, I don't suppose we'd have been able to make the film, so it's a very good thing we did.
And of course, the house is only part of the story. Maggie, you spend more of the time in the van than in the house. How was that?
Well, they were in luxury. They were actually in a real house. The van wasn't the most comfortable place, but it was where I spent most of the time, I must admit. But they were all in comfort.
So,
figures, doesn't it?
Kevin, we've heard the valid creative reasons for doing all this, but you were the man who had to make it happen. How easy was it? And tell us a little bit about Gloucester Crescent itself and the importance in the story.
Gloucester Crescent's kind of a unique street, really, in Camden. Obviously, Alan knows far more than I do, but it's kind of sandwiched between, Regent's Park and the railway line and the kind of ever-moving stream of urban activity that is Camden High Street and Market. So it's this little oasis, really, and when Alan lived there, and indeed now, it seems to be inhabited by quite creative, liberal-minded, quite well-off, but kindly people, and therefore they tolerated Miss Shepherd for many years, and they tolerated us, I'm happy to say.
Well, let's talk to some other creative, well-meaning, liberal and well-paid people. Gentlemen, down at the front.
Hello, everybody. Simon Button, UK Freelance. Question from Maggie. How was it revisiting this character that you played on stage, I think it was 15 years ago? And also, how method did you go in terms of immersing yourself in the squalor of it all?
How what?
How method did you go in terms of immersing yourself in the squalor?
What method?
How method were you?
Method?
Yeah, method.
Right. Well, not a lot of that is required if you are dressed as I was and in a van. I mean, that was method enough. I really didn't go in. You mean into the inner whatnot? No, I didn't dare do that. I just kept thinking about her.
What was it like revisiting her after so many years?
Sorry?
And how was it revisiting her after so many years, going back to
I can't hear a word.
How was it revisiting the part after 15 years since
Oh,
you did it on stage?
it was very, very different. Very, very different, because on stage it was much broader, and but the film was much more concentrated. You know, it was a whole different thing.
But they were both physically demanding, weren't they? I mean, the stage as well.
The stage was more demanding because, yeah. But and it was a long time ago, and I could handle it. But it just wasn't very easy, the being constricted by the van. But I did go out and about, though. I just wasn't in a house very often.
Lady at the front.
Hi, Laura James for Soho Picture Book. A question to Maggie and Alan. It's very much a tale of human compassion that plays on...
I'm so sorry. Do you think we could possibly have the microphone working? I think we may need to swap.
I don't know whether it's easier to hear.
Call that first one a rehearsal.
Hello.
Right.
Yeah, you can hear me now, it's all good.
Yeah.
Hello, Laura Jones for Soho Picture Book, to Maggie and Alan. It's a lovely story which is very much a tale of human compassion that demonstrates the whole love thy neighbour proverb, set in a time when people did know who lived next door to them. But in a day and age where people aren't quite as kind and don't know their next door neighbours, what do you think this says to a modern audience about care of the elderly and those around you?
Well, it seems sorry, you...
No, go on.
I was just going to say, it's extraordinary. This happened to one person. There seem to be thousands and thousands and thousands of people who are looking for somewhere to live. This is just one single person. And I don't know whether today it would happen. I really don't. I don't think it would happen to you again, would it?
I hope not.
No.
But I don't think compassion isn't the right word. I mean, I'm always having to say this. It wasn't compassion in quite that way. If somebody had said to me, if you let her into the garden, she's going to be there for 15 years, I would never have had her in there, obviously. But the reason why she came into the garden was because I could see her from where I worked was, say, at this table, and when she was parked in the street, she would be about the second row of the audience. And so I could see everything that happened. And people did used to rough her up, and kids used to persecute her, and people in the market did. And you always had to have one eye on the lookout for anything happening to her. Now, I was trying to work, and you can't work like that. And in the end, it was simply a case of self-preservation, from my point of view, that she came in because I wanted to get on with my work, and if she was in the garden, she'd be out of the way. So it's the reverse of compassion from my point of view.
Garth.
Hello, my name is Garth Pierce, and I work for whoever pays me. Can I ask a personal question of Dame Maggie and Alan? Your respective ages are a matter of record, and yet your energy level is enormous. How do you keep that up? Is it diet? Is it attitude? Is it some secret? Or just give me some hope?
How do you keep it up?
I think the only thing that makes me not look my age is my hair. Otherwise, I feel every minute of my 81 years.
All that work you've had.
What?
All that work you've had.
Yeah, it's a blessing to be able to go on working. I mean, and to also, well, for both of us, for the public still has an appetite for what we do. Playwrights particularly have a quite a short life. That they often have a vogue, and then they go out. People go off them, and that's it. And I'm very lucky in that people still want to read the stuff I write. And I suppose Maggie sees the stuff that you do.
Well, yes, I mean, I'm very lucky because there's always this endless thing about there aren't any parts for women over a certain age. Well, I've kind of reached the limit now because I'm sure there aren't many after the age I am, but I think they're talking about a middle age. But I don't know what the energy thing is. The energy comes from the people who are around you and one's director. And a lot of energy came from Nick to get us through. But it is tough, and I can't say it's easy at the age I am. I'm not speaking for you because you're okay. Well, because he's always on a bicycle and things, you know.
Well, I used to watch you and think, well, I couldn't do that, and you were doing stuff that I would never have been able to do.
Yeah, I'm not sure I could do it anymore.
Well,
not really.
Well,
but who knows?
It was sometimes a tricky call as to whether I could ask you to climb into the van yet again for yet another take.
When it was dry, it wasn't too bad.
Yeah.
When it was wet most of the time because of the rain.
but there's a scene where Maggie's where Miss Shepherd is at mass, and she has to. Miss Shepherd was very devout, and the former devotion took was to actually prostrate herself before she received the host, and I think we did 3 or 4 takes on that, and you did those takes, and I couldn't have done one of them. So
I'll tell you one morning when I didn't dare ask you to climb into the van. Was on a Monday morning. The van was parked outside the house through the weekend, and you know Camden Town is party central on Saturday, and it turned out through Sunday night. When they turned up first thing Monday morning to reopen the van, they found a couple of people who'd been having a good time with each other and with whatever substances they'd in the van. They'd apparently been there all weekend. And when I arrived, when I arrived a little later, they were evacuating the van of all its filthy contents, which were obviously just kind of fake filthy. They were art department filthy, to have them deep cleaned because they had no idea what these 2 youngsters who were flat out in the back of the van had been doing through the weekend. And they all had to get deep cleaned and then made filthy again. And I had to keep from Maggie why we suddenly were swapping the schedule for the whole day round, because I never dared say that you'll now be occupying a van that has been occupied by 2 people who have been indulging in various activities, legal and illegal, right through the weekend. So that's...
No, I was told much later. Cowards, they were.
That's a different sort of centerpiece gala. Lady at the front.
Hello, Eva Přivřelová from Czech Daily E15. I have a question for Mr. Bennett, because this is the 4th version of Lady in the Van, for different media. So is there, when you revive the story for the script, is there always something new that you find out about Miss Shepherd, or has your opinion or feelings of her kind of evolved?
Has your views and opinions of Miss Shepherd changed with the different versions of the story that you've written? Have you found out more about her?
No, I don't think so, not in the sense that she was... as a person, she was unreachable. So the fact, if I'd known that she'd been a very good pianist, for instance, or she'd studied with Cortot, as I found out after she died, I couldn't have talked to her about that, because she just wouldn't. It wouldn't come back. You know, she'd say, "I don't want to know," or she would just shut up shop and stop talking. So in that sense, she remained unreachable, I think. But it made her seem, and I think I said this in the original book, after she died and I found out about her, it made her life seem much more adventurous and much more eventful than my own, really, which would have pleased her no end, I'm quite sure. But I don't think my attitude to her has changed. People tend to think of her as being a sweet old lady. She was not that, and she wouldn't have survived had she been, a much more kindly person.
And Alex, although the title, of course, is The Lady in the Van and Miss Shepherd is at the centre of it, it's also a story about Alan and the writing. You've played Alan before, haven't you? Tell me a little bit about becoming Alan Bennett.
Well, I have. I played him in 2 short pieces that Alan wrote. One was a kind of concert piece that he wrote with the Medici String Quartet about his sort of musical memories of going to concerts and churches growing up in Leeds, and the string quartet wanted to revive it